What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. So, I hope all you guys are having a wonderful Sunday night. I have a special little live stream planned for you this evening. So, tonight, me and Nick from Hopeless to Hopeful are going to talk all about relapse. We're going to talk about his relapses. We're going to talk about relapses I've gone through. And we're just going to have a conversation and talk about what we've learned from our past relapses, what we do today to stay away from relapsing. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Misty. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Merk. I'm glad you're back. He's back. So we're going to talk about all the things we do to stay on the right path. And like I said, I really want to hear some of his old stories and stuff because you guys have heard all my stories, but it's always so awesome when I can bring somebody else on. Hey, Kim. And we can talk about, the things that we've gone through and kind of compare, like compare notes. And just so you know, like we're going to be talking about relapse, we're going to be talking about active drug use. And so if you're easily triggered, just be aware that you can click off at any time. You don't have to stay here and listen to something if it makes you feel uncomfortable. If for some reason we're talking about something and you're like, I can't handle this, just mute it. Just mute it for a minute and then come back and pick back up when you feel comfortable. But for the most part, I don't think we're going to be going into like really deep detail, but there's going to be some talk about active addiction. So I just want to let y'all know that. Hold on. I'm doing laundry, so let me shut all these doors. All righty then. Oh, hey, Nick. I'm coming. What up?
What up? How you doing?
I'm doing good. What about you?
I'm doing good. I have you pulled up on the computer as well, so I'm trying to figure this out. Give me 1 second, real quick.
Oh yeah, take your time.
All right.
So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about tonight, you guys. We're going to talk about relapse. We're going to talk about, man, I know you got some good stories about all the times you've relapsed, man, and I got some good stories. So I'm excited.
All right. Okay, I'm good to go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there was a couple. Oh my gosh. Actually, there was plenty of times. So how are you doing?
I'm doing good. So this is what I was telling everybody we're going to do. I was like, I'm going to have Nick on, and we're just going to talk about, past relapses that we've been through and what we learned from those relapses and what we can see now looking back from where we're at today, like the mistakes and how we made mistakes. And maybe, how, they say that hindsight is 2020. Like if we could know what we know now, what would we have done differently?
Right.
So
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
if you want to start out, you tell me about the first time you ever really tried to get sober and then didn't succeed.
Okay. And then didn't succeed?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So the first time I actually tried to get sober was when I was snorting Roxy's, and I was working in the restaurant business, and I decided that I needed to leave town and go to my uncle's place because I truly believed in my head that living in the town that I was at was the cause of my issues. So I went up to my uncle's place, like 4 hours away in northern Florida, and I stayed there for a week. And I this was when I still thought like I was smoking weed, um, and I was just taking like Xanax and stuff to come off of the Roxy's and help with the detox. So I tried that. I succeeded first able to get anything, and as soon as I came back, I was planning to, with my cousin, we were going to go down to the Keys. And instead of going straight down one side of Florida all the way to the Keys, I told him, let's make a stop by Naples so we can get some stuff. And I ended up going straight to my dealer's house on the 8th day and getting a whole bunch of Roxy's and ended up relapsing. So
Yeah.
that was like the first time I actually tried it.
I think that, like we all at first think that we can make a geographical change. You know how I know you know that it says that
Yeah.
in the big book, or I don't even know if it says it in the big book, but I've always heard people talk about how um, you can. What's that saying? You cannot run from you.
Right, right.
So
Yeah,
when
you
you're an
can't.
addict, you are the problem. You know.
Exactly.
And so when you're trying to leave, I did the same thing. I moved here to Little Rock and my addiction just got 10 times worse. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I found even more hookups, you know?
Yeah. No, I get it. I am like, I was the king of the geographical change. I mean, I went from Naples to Louisiana to North Florida to Clearwater to the Keys to Miami, back to Naples, back to the Keys. And I always was that geographical change. I kept blaming it on where I was at. I really didn't look at myself and try to work on what I needed to work on. I kept running from it and thinking that it was where I was at. So that was the first experience, the one that I told you. What was your first experience?
The first experience of me ever trying to get sober. Oh gosh, let me think. Okay, so the first time I ever tried to get sober, I went into a treatment center. It was Quapaw House. I'll never forget it because it was the first rehab I went into, and the counselor that was there, she was this black lady named Miss Edith, and she did not play. And I went in there because I really wanted to get sober, or I wanted help because I thought I just couldn't handle my addiction. Like I was still trying to manage, uh, like taking pills and like balancing it out. Like maybe if I just take a couple Xanax here and there, I'll be okay. Well, I went into treatment and I came out, and instead of going into the halfway house, I stayed with my parents. I didn't move into a halfway house. I got
Yep.
a sponsor. I started going to meetings, but I didn't let go of my people, places, and things, and I was still going around like my friends that were getting high. In fact, I was still going to the same trailer where they were cooking methamphetamine at. And then I relapsed after 6 months. I stayed sober for 6 months, but the
That's
reason
really,
I
yeah.
relapsed is because I didn't even try to remove those friends. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just
Yeah.
I didn't understand that I could not go around people that were using. Is that, hold
Mm-hmm.
on a second. I hear this clicking sound. I don't think it's you. I think it's me.
It could be.
Do you hear
Is
it?
it,
Hello, hello.
I don't really hear it.
Does it sound like an echo? Maybe it's just me.
Some people are saying yes, me too. We can hear it too. Let me try to move my phone. Oh, that ain't gonna work. Hold on. Let's see here.
It's like a feedback. Kinda. Is it
No,
still
we
there, you
hear it.
guys? Do you hear it, Lisa? Is it gone?
Not anymore, but yeah.
What does that mean?
I'm just reading the comment.
No, I mean, but do you hear it
Oh,
or do you not hear it?
kinda still there.
Okay. Hello? Okay, well, hopefully it'll get. I hear it too. Okay, now I hear it. Let me see if I put these earphones in, if that'll help. Hold on.
This is crazy.
Okay. Let me see. Let me see.
There it is again. Yep, it's there. Hey guys,
Okay, there you go.
looking.
Are you
It's
there?
nice being able to look at the comments now.
Okay. Yes, now I can hear it again. You can still hear the clicking?
I can kind of hear it. I know what you're. I think I know what you're talking about.
Oh well. If it's not too bad and you guys can stand it, let me know. If you can't, then I'll sign in and we can start back over again. Settings. I don't know how to fix anything, so I just literally come on here and hope that it'll go, well.
Yeah, I get it because I'm not good at any of that. It's the ghost of all your past, chatting with each other about silly things we've done. That's
Okay,
great.
we're
All
gonna
right.
keep it moving. Okay, so that was the first time I ever tried to get sober, and it was like I said, I went into treatment. I came out. I stayed around the same people. I didn't make any
Mhm.
changes, and I relapsed. But like I said, I held on for I think it was like either 3 to 6 months. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but that was like a feeble attempt. Like it was a half-assed attempt at trying to get sober. You know what I mean?
Right. I would honestly say that most of my attempts, like I never seem to make it more than 24 to 48 hours. And so the next serious attempt I took was when I was on Suboxone, and I went to a 30-day program in Jupiter, and that's on the east coast of Florida. And I got clean for like 2 weeks there, and then that's when I decided to call my friend. I remember telling you in the story of my testimony, I had a tennis ball thrown with Roxy's over the fence when I was in the program,
Uh huh.
and I ended up getting other people high, and I never got caught. But when I left that program 2 weeks later, I went straight home. As soon as I got home, I ripped the bong, I smoked some weed, and then the next day, I hit up the Roxy dealer again. And it was like, it's really weird because every time I went and I wanted to go to a rehab, it's like I wanted it so, so bad. But then it's like my brain would forget like how crappy it was, and it would convince me that I can still smoke weed and I can still use occasionally and that I have it under control. I truly believed that I had it under control. Like I could use once or twice here and there, and I was fine as long as I physically didn't get dependent. And that was a big thing. I was like, I'm just physically dependent. That's the only issue. I can use every once in a while as long as I don't get physically hooked on it. And well, that didn't really work out, obviously.
Right.
I just
Well,
started using the next day and using again the next day.
wait, there we go. Okay, can
I
you hear me
got you.
now? Okay.
Yes.
You know how when your brain goes back to that, like only the good times?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard, I think that's euphoric recall. So what our brain does is it only remembers, when we were having a good time getting high, the feelings produced by the drugs when we were getting high. I
Right.
don't remember, you know, and for me, that's what I have to do now is practice like remembering what it was like when my son was taken because that's one of the things that helps me to stay away from getting high again is playing that tape all the way through and focusing on the horrible things that I did in my addiction. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I
Instead of
100% I get it.
instead of going back into because my brain had been trained to only remember how good it felt. And so every time, but I didn't realize that when I was trying to get sober all those times before. But now, like knowledge is power. Learning about the disease of addiction, reading books, talking to doctors, going to meetings and hearing other people's stories, that's what helps me to stay sober now is that knowledge of the disease because I know that my disease is going to tell me that it's good and it feels good and that's what I need to do, but I know that You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that's my addiction. My addiction is going
Yeah.
to tell me that.
And I think that's something that we learn over the trial and error period, because I feel like everyone goes through that where they think that they have it under control. And I literally, like, I don't know if anyone's seen, but I have a moving company, and I put on the side of my trucks, "Don't forget where you came from." Because every day I walk outside and I look at my truck and I'm like, "Don't forget where you came from." I just, read it in my head, and it reminds me of the misery and the loneliness and that isolation and just feeling like there's no hope, and that when you're playing the tape through and really remembering how bad it was, it really it does help, especially in the beginning, because those first 6 months or a year was really difficult for me. I mean, I was in a year-long program, but it still is. Your brain is healing,
Yeah.
and I think that's like. So I'll talk about the third time I truly tried to get sober. Um, I went to the program up in Louisiana. It was a 3-month program, and I decided to give it a shot. I really wanted to quit. It was a withdrawal, a drug-free withdrawal, which I have talked about before. And I get through the program. I go through the sauna program. I'm fully detoxed, and when I'm towards the back end of my program, in my mind, I knew I want to get high again. In my mind, I was thinking, well, now that I'm fully clean and sober, like 3 months, I was in the sauna for 30 days. Like my body is like crystal clear, like I
Hmm.
feel amazing, like before I ever did drugs. And I decided in my head that I could control my usage, that I was just physically sick and dependent on these drugs, and that I could do it once in a while and just not get physically hooked on it. And the same day that I came home from that 90-day program, I had my dealer meet me at the end of my street. I got a pill, and that's when I snorted it off my graduation plaque. And from there, I went 27 days straight. Every single day, I did not stop. I did Roxy's every day. And at that point, I was IVing them. So that I ended up going back to that program for another 90 days, and that's the next story or whatever I'll tell you about. But
So they let you had to go into a sauna and sweat it out or something?
yeah, okay, so I'll kind of explain it, pretty quick. If you look it up, it is niacin, which is a B vitamin. I can't remember which one. It's niacin, and the whole point of just look up niacin and sauna detox. You can Google it. There's a lot of health benefits, and I truly did feel amazing. But you got to ask your doctor
Hmm.
and make sure it's okay. But what it is you would work out for 30 minutes. You do cardio, and you would get your blood pumping, and you would take the niacin beforehand. The niacin would break down your fat cells and where your fat is stored. And then you would get into a sauna, and the niacin would give your body a flush, and it would push the toxins out of your body through sweat. And it includes pesticides, antibiotics, um, drugs and alcohol, chlorine, just like all the different toxins and chemicals. Like the people from 9/11, the firefighters did it from the smoke and everything they inhaled, and the towels that they would wipe off with would be black. And then after a week, they would be less black. Then after another week, they would be almost clear. And so there really is health benefits from it uh, that I realized. I'm not a doctor or anything, but it truly helped a lot of people that I saw
Hmm.
go in and come out, and you get your color back, and they just look amazing. And that really, when I did that, I was like, man, do you know how high I could get now if I went and used drugs? That was my thought process. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I could snort like a quarter of a Roxy, and I could just get lit. And that was my mind started to shift towards the end of that 90 days. It was going from, man, remember how shitty it was and how crappy I feel, to, well, maybe I can just control it. Maybe I can just do half. And as soon as I went back and I did that first line, game over. It was like my brain was instantly back into that mode of, I want it, I want more, I want it now, and I want it again and again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I was in the sauna pretty much for 5 hours a day or 6 hours a day. And you would do like 10-minute increments and then give you water, give you salt, potassium, whatever, and go out, go back in, go out, go back in.
I need to go into one of those things. That sounds amazing.
I'm not even joking. Definitely check it out. If you're gonna be going through your detox, because I know you're lowering your dosage on Suboxone, and
Mhm.
anyone out there, check obviously with your doctor, but Google it and see if that's something you can implement when you come off your last milligram of Suboxone to
That would
maybe
be
speed
so
up the
cool.
process or make you feel better, and you could even document it. You know what I mean?
Right. That would be really cool too. I mean, that would be awesome actually. And I would just like to see like what all would come out of my skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had like this rock come out of my thumb. um it was like, not, I wouldn't say a rock obviously, but like a falling and stuff like that, because you're sweating so much for hours. You'll have like people that'll have like splinters and like glass that's been in their foot for a long time come out. um
Wow.
I'm telling you, it's it's crazy. It really, it helped me a lot. Like, definitely look into it, everyone out there in the chat room.
I'm reading their
um
comments. Daniel said, "That's stinking thinking." You know, that's okay. So
yeah,
I know you know how. Okay, basically every time that I've wanted to, that every time that I've relapsed, it's because I had this reservation and I was like saving up for one last time to get high. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like I
I know.
still, like I might have went into each time with 100% intentions to get sober and stay sober. But somewhere along the way, something in my mind shifted and my intentions went from, yeah, I'm going to stay sober, I'm going to do this no matter what, to I'm going to get high one last time, you know? And lately there's a couple of people on YouTube that have recovery channels, actually quite a few people that have been struggling with like thinking about relapsing or have relapsed. And every time I watch someone share about their relapse or share about thinking about it, what it does is it kind of triggers something in my mind to think about, well, Nicole, what's the checklist? Are you doing everything that you need to do to stay sober? Are you talking to your sponsor? Are you calling your support system? Are you, doing your meetings and you're doing your steps? Because I feel like every time that I can look back, so the last time I had like a substantial relapse that I can remember, I had been sober for 9 months, and that was the last time I relapsed. And then I stayed out. I didn't go back, and I relapsed after I went out. I got out of prison in 2010. I got sober and moved into a halfway house, and I stayed there for 9 months. And I was sober as a judge. I was doing so good. And I really, like, I was doing so good. I got promoted at my job. I was the assistant manager of the deli at Kroger. I had my car back. I had a place to live in, my own apartment. Like, I was
Yep.
doing really good. And I
Yep.
started working these hours, and I started letting my job and those hours take precedent over my recovery program. But I
Yep.
didn't realize that that's what I was doing. And then as I slowly started not stopping doing what I was doing to stay sober, then my thinking shifted back to, oh, I could just take a Xanax to relax after work one day.
Right.
Or what's smoking a joint? Nobody will ever know, that's not my drug of choice. And then when the opportunity arose and I was in a position to go out and get high with my next door neighbor, I jumped on it. Like I was like, heck yeah, let's get fucked up. And then I was back out, and I didn't come back from 2010 until 2015 when I got sober, finally, you know. Um,
Yep.
and I stayed gone, but I really was doing so well. But
Yeah.
like every time that something shifted in me, that was like, it's okay, you can just have one more, or nobody will know. You know what I mean?
Right. No, that was the next time that I went to get sober. Um, hold on, I was just reading this comment here from Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of the sauna stuff. Gonna have to check it out. If it's free, it's me. If it's expensive, like it sounds, probably not. um, the uh, the rehab that I went to was expensive. It really wasn't insurance covered for 90 days, or it's 90 to however long you need. It was like I think it was like 30,000, and I was on a work study program, so as my family could only pay like 10 or 15, I had to work half the day or whatever. But there is people that do it as a health benefit, not for rehab.
Mm-hmm.
So there's people that actually go to a gym, like a hot, like just any type of gym that has a sauna, and they do it themselves. So
Yeah.
Daniel, if you're out there, you could check that out as an option.
You can go to the gym and sweat it out.
Yeah, there you go. It's the ones that have the sauna. Anyway, so the third time I tried to like really, really get sober, the third or fourth, when you were talking about getting everything back, I became a sous chef. They had me working at the rehab in Clearwater. I was I just got a car, a Chrysler 300, which I loved because it was all black, and I thought I was like the coolest dude ever. Smoking my vape, blowing out the sunroof. I was like, I'm the man. Um, yeah, I had I got my car back. I was living in I was renting a home, a nice place in Clearwater with a couple people from the program. Cell phone, saving money, have working like the legit job, and I never was big into AA or NA ever until this last time where I'm actually sober now, and that's because I had a horrible experience with it. Um, when I first tried to get sober, I went to a meeting. It was a horrible experience. I can share that later, but I started getting everything back and saving money, and that is right when everything is going so well that I forgot about where I came from once again, and I had a couple bad days at work and at this place I was working at, and I wasn't really believing what they wanted me to believe, and we had some conflict of interest. Either way, it was on me, and I decided to drive back to where I was, like 2.5 hours away, and pick up some pills. And at this point, I had like 9 months sober, like you said. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny how something happens in your brain around that time. Like my friend that OD'd and died, he had 10 months clean and sober, and he went back out that one last time, and but it was around the 9 month mark, and I went, I had money saved, and I went back out and I did it. I didn't think anyone would know. I did it successfully. I used, and then a couple weeks later, I did it again, and then I started doing it every weekend, which led to every day, and eventually I got busted. They knew I was high, and I got kicked out of there, got fired.
You know what I
So,
think? I think like around 9 months, six, nine, and then 12, I think that we start getting like that anxiety that we're coming up on a year. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is, but it, I either relapse at 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months every time I've ever relapsed.
right. Yeah.
So I'm seeing somebody in the comment. I want to read this comment real fast. I was seeing, hey Shannon Gooden, you're new to the channel, huh, girl? Let me see what you've got going on because I've been seeing you in here. Thank you, Cindy. It's been really hard. I think Shannon is going through withdrawal on her couch right now. This is really making me realize that there's hope. I've been on the couch all day, sick with the chills, then came to this channel.
Oh, Shannon, I know where you're at. Believe me, just keep moving forward every hour, every minute. Don't stop, because if you go back, you know exactly where it's going to take you.
It's not worth it to go back. You know, I cannot, I can remember so many times that I was in the middle of like probably the most horrible withdrawals, like projectile vomiting, diarrhea, cold, hot, sweating, shivering, and in your mind, the only option is you're going to die right then or to go get relief. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And
And
it's
it's
like
like, you're
it's
not
it's
going to
crazy.
die.
It's
It's going to be
crazy
okay.
how your brain, it's like it keeps, it's like it's a nonstop cycle of just like it just keeps repeating like, oh, you need to use to feel better, you need to use to feel better, and like you're trying to watch Netflix or you're trying to watch people on YouTube, and you're trying to just like think of anything, but it's just like your brain keeps wrapping you back around, and you keep feeling how shitty you feel, which is making everything worse. And gosh, that cycle, man, I'm like, I'm almost like teary eyed because I know exactly how it feels. Hopefully, she can reach out to you after this. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah,
able to help her out.
it makes me like I know I don't ever want to have to go back to that, but I even think about that because I know that when I come down lower on Suboxone, if and when I decide to jump, I'm going to go through those that same feeling. But one thing I know is that I'll go through it, but I'm going to have so much more support, and I'm going to have like a working knowledge of what's going on. It's okay. This is going to pass. I can do this. I can make it to the other side. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not,
Yeah.
I feel like because I've been working so hard for the last 4 years and staying on track, that it's different than if I just was trying to get sober and didn't have any kind of foundation. You know what I mean?
Right. A
I
hundred
feel like at
percent.
least now I have like, I mean, I can invite like all these people to my house to like chain me to the wall so that way I couldn't leave.
Yeah. Well, no, you have support now too.
Right.
You know, whether it's virtual support or you have family, and you have a better understanding of how it works. I felt like when I went through my addiction, I never saw anybody go through it before me. Like I never knew what withdrawals were. You know what I mean? Like when we were doing pills back in the day, like I never knew anyone that was dope sick. Like I didn't know what that was. We were just having fun experimenting, and then it's like me and my friends were the ones that realized like, hey, if you don't take this, you're gonna be sick.
Right.
Like, but I never grew up or had YouTube or anything for someone to tell me like, hey, this is a problem. This is what's going on. Maybe I was just oblivious to it or whatever, but I feel like if I would have known that or had more knowledge, maybe I wouldn't have got into the pills. Like my younger brothers, they're like scared to death to touch it because of what I went through.
Yeah,
Um,
that's how my sister, my baby sister is. She watched me and Michelle totally screw up our lives with addiction. And so now she will not do that shit. Like she will. Psh. Okay, this is
yeah.
what I want to know. So, okay, do you ever think about relapsing? Do you ever think about wanting to go out and get high? And if you do, what do you do to combat those thoughts? And what do you do to protect your sobriety now and like maintain staying sober?
All right. Oh, I'm gonna tell you guys a story that I haven't told anybody
Okay.
because this was I didn't want to put it on my personal channel because I have some people that watch it, like my mom and family. And it was a while ago now, but when I was around the year and a half mark, okay, clean and sober off everything, I got everything back tenfold. Like I'm talking like I got my business, I got money in a savings account. I'm living in a beautiful home on the beach. Like I got I had like beautiful girlfriend at the time. Like I'm like everything is top. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting a little cocky. I'm like, yo, I made it. You know what I mean? Like I came from in the homeless shelter program to living and waking up to the beach. Okay, like this is crazy, like out of a movie, right? And so I stopped going to meetings and I went to the Keys Okay, and when I was on my way to the Keys to see my grandparents, that's where my old drug dealer was, the heroin dealer. And I
Wow.
was like, you know what? Let me just see how he's doing. Let's just see if he's okay. So I shoot him a text on Messenger and I'm like, hey man, how's it going? He's like, oh, it's good. He's like, still doing the same thing. I'm like, you still doing the same thing? He's like, yeah, man, still doing the same thing. And in my head, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to hit him up. But of course, I'm like, well, I already committed, so I'm like, what I could just get a half gram, no one would know. So I'm like, hey man, are you good? Can I come through? After I sent the text, I was like, I really hope he does not respond. He hits up the phone. He's like, yeah man, come through. I'm all good. Got some fire or whatever. I'm like, shoot, you know what I mean? Like, now I committed. I can't just not go because what if I do relapse one day and I want to be able to use him as one of my connects? So, uh, I'm like, okay, I just got to drop the dog off and then I'm gonna go. So I drop my dog off. I drive back to his place. The whole time there, I'm like, I pray to God he robs me. I pray to God he robs me and this doesn't go through, right? So of course not. He's like, hey man, just come by. I go see him. Everything goes through, and I have this fat chunk of raw heroin sitting in my hand. And so I'm like, okay, like this is it. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna. And in my head, I parked at the racetrack gas station,
Hmm.
and I said, this is it. I'm gonna throw everything away. Like I said that to myself in my head. So I got some trigger warning, everyone. Trigger warning. I got some aluminum foil and I burnt it on the aluminum foil and I got the pen out to smoke it. And I was sitting there and I was playing the tape through in my head. And I was really like, okay, you're going to really enjoy this right now for this moment.
Hmm.
But what is going to happen to you after this is done? And I sat there and I'm not even kidding you. I looked at it and I just sat there and I was like, what is going to happen when this is over with? And I'd really played the tape through. And before I went to the guy's house, I called one of my friends just to say what's up. I wasn't going to tell him what was going on, but I just wanted him to talk to me and just get my mind clear. So I tell myself when I'm sitting there looking at it, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to make this decision right now. I'm going to put this away and I'm going to drive back to my grandparents' house because it was like a 25-minute drive. So I'm sitting there driving and my friend calls me and he's like, hey man, how's it going? I'm like, good, blah, blah, blah. I still wasn't going to tell him what was going on because then who would trust me, especially from the program. Um, Not like AA or NA, I'm talking about the program that I went through. And I
Hmm.
kind of have a name there, like, it's I don't want to be known for almost relapsing or whatever, which is stupid
Right.
because it's real life. And he calls me, and it clears my mind enough to think, what the hell am I doing right now? I take it and I chuck it out the window. And that was a year ago, almost a year and like 2 months ago or something. And that day, after that, I came back home. I went to a meeting every single day. I got a sponsor. I started working the program, and I did not forget. And like I try not to forget, but like I really started working the program after that. I went through the steps again,
Hmm.
and I continue to. And I talk with my sponsor, and I go to a meeting every morning. And what was funny is after that, I've been around it, like friends, trying to help them out or whatever. But I know now in my head, like I don't want to do that. I knew I didn't want to do that when I had it in front of me. I could play the tape through and see that if I did do it again, that it would lead down that dark path, and I did not want that in my life again. Um, so yeah, that I don't know if that answered any questions, but
No,
that
you did. Let me tell you this one story. I had a similar situation happen, only, I mean, it's exactly the same situation. So it was probably like a year and a half, 2 years after I had gotten sober. And because I'm on Suboxone, I know I can't get opiates. Like, I would have to stop taking my medication if I wanted to go get high on opiates. So one day, one of my friends came over that still used benzos. She came to my house, and I asked her, I said, "You got some Xanax?" And she did. She had 3 or 4 of the blue Xanax footballs.
Oh, yep.
Here you go. You can have them. Who gives you Xanax footballs for free? I was like, okay. So I took them. I said, thanks, girl. And I put them in my wallet. And I thought, I mean, I sat on those all day just thinking about those Xanaxes in my wallet. And I was like, I had devised this plan that when Neil gets home and goes and lays down, I'll take them before we lay down, and then I'll be able to get high, lay in the bed all fucked up, and fall asleep, and he'll never know.
Right.
Well, for some reason that night, he had to go to the gas station, something, and I had $20 cash in my wallet. And so I said, I got 20 bucks in my wallet, just grab it. And he went in my wallet and he found those pills. And
Oh,
he took those pills, came upstairs, and he was like, "You're fucking getting high. What the fuck?" Because, you know me, I'm always on his ass trying to make sure
yeah,
he's
yeah.
not doing anything. And I felt so horrible. He took him, threw him in the toilet, flushed it. But if he hadn't went in my wallet, I would have taken those Xanaxes and relapsed. And I
Right.
realized right then, I was like, you almost threw away your whole 2 years of sobriety for
Right.
4 footballs.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's absolutely crazy. And especially, um, like, it's just like a God moment, my higher power moment, whatever you want to say. Like, thank goodness that he actually, went into your wallet and found those. And thank goodness my friend actually called. And it's just like that extra help, because I don't know who would have known what would have happened if we would even be here right now, you know?
Oh, if I had taken those Xanaxes, I would have went off the rails, because that's what happens to me every time I take any benzos. I will drive my car into a brick wall. I've done it twice.
Uh, th-
And so I'm just thankful. Like, I don't want to relapse now. Today, I don't want to get high. Like, I
right.
truly don't have the desire. I don't want to lose everything I've worked so hard for. But I used to struggle with the thought of using still. And I used to toss those thoughts back and forth in my mind. But just like you said, like working my program, praying, doing my meditation, talking about how I feel, telling on my disease. Like, if I think about getting high or I think about taking a Xanax, the first thing I do is come on my channel and go, "Do you guys know what? I thought about taking a Xanax today." And it's like, just because I can say that on my channel and get it out, it's like,
Hmm.
now I don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to take a Xanax because I told on myself. You know what I mean?
Right. And then sometimes you realize how crazy you sound. You're like, damn, why do I even want to do that? Like,
Right. It would be such
just
a
talking to
waste
other
for me.
people.
It would just
Yeah.
knock me out, basically. And
Yep.
that's the thing with drugs. Like, I've crossed over this boundary with drugs where they don't even like give me pleasure anymore. I either go crazy, I pass out, I overdose and nod out and have to go to the hospital. I
Yep.
drink myself into a freaking alcohol poisoning. Like, I don't even have fun anymore.
Right.
It's like they turned on me a long time ago. And
Yeah.
so it's not even enjoyable. It was all, but when you're in your active addiction, it's like that's what I had to do to get that relief, especially with opiates, because it was like I was
Hmm.
always feeling like shit.
Yeah. Just to feel like you could actually breathe. Like, it
Yeah.
feels like you can't breathe, and then you use, and you're like, and then you start going throughout your day, and then it's like you can't breathe again, and you got to use, and it's like you can relax and like not have to keep just. It's like you're just using to run away from the sickness or whatever. But I forgot what the 3 questions were that you asked me, or the 2 questions.
What do you do today to stay sober and not relapse? Or I don't know. I want to ask you one good question. Tell me this. And I asked you, I don't even, I shouldn't probably even be asking this, but I want to know. I No, I won't ask. Do you think they're okay? For me, I have to take accountability with things like relapses. Okay, and so relapsing that is when you go back out and you use for like is a relapse. Is there a difference between just like going out and taking one pill and coming right back? Do you think there's a difference between that and then staying out for like a week or 2 days or 3 days? Or do you think you should just call it a relapse and move on? Because
That is
I
a
would love to
very
know your
that's a
opinion.
very good question. And I actually read a book called I know reading a book. I actually don't read. This bookshelf behind me is not mine. So I'm just letting you guys know. Um, it was called Healing the Addicted Brain, and I actually did a video on it a while ago. And it says there is a difference between a slip and a relapse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a slip in the book, it stated that a slip is using of one time and coming back and getting back to your normal life and realizing that you made a mistake. And then a relapse is using multiple times and going back down, like going backwards. Um, I do not know because I've always thought if you used it was a relapse.
Right.
That's
That's how.
that's what I was, but I never knew about a thing called a slip, and I don't know. See, because I feel like there's so many different programs and there's so many different opinions because
Yeah.
addiction is so different for everyone that
Mm-hmm.
you can't really. I guess it's whatever they believe it is. Like because if I let's say you used one time, like say I drank and I'm not a drinker, or I used an Adderall, or I used something, and I I didn't lose anything and I didn't damage myself and I keep moving forward after that, is it really considered a relapse, like you're going backwards back into your addiction?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I've always considered if you use once, it's a relapse. But now that I've learned that there's a thing called a slip, I would say if you used one time and kept moving forward in your recovery, then you would call it a slip. I hope that answers
Oh,
it.
it does. It does answer it. But for me, with my manipulating ass, this is how I look at it.
Mm,
I have to
well,
take responsibility for going out and picking up. And if I'm going, you guys, it's okay. I just had a slip. That to me is giving myself permission. And I'm going to make that same mistake over and over and over again. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's how I used to, I mean, I do that sometimes, like with just, okay, with food addiction. It's no secret that I love to eat. And a lot of the times I will have slips on my binging. And I will have a night where I binge one night and then I get right back on track, right? And I don't binge again. But that still, that binge, that eating that food still affects, the work that I put up into that point because all that food, all those calories, that's going to change all that hard work I put in to at the beginning. So I think that I do understand that, there is a difference between staying out for, because every time I've ever lapsed, I've had relapses and I didn't come back. See
hmm
ya. I'm out of here for like 3 years, you know what I mean? Or six
right.
months or 9 months, or like I never came right back ever. And I think a lot of the reasons why I didn't was because, well, I didn't want to come back. I liked getting high. I was enjoying it, And then
hmm
a lot of the things were I was so embarrassed to come back and be like, "Hey guys, I relapsed." You know what I mean? I don't know why I would be embarrassed, but I guess for me, like I try to make sure that I don't put too much emphasis on like I had a slip, I had a relapse because basically I picked up. I went out and I used, and I need to be honest about it to myself because I think that's fuck everybody else. You know what I mean? I mean, I have a YouTube channel, so I would be honest on my YouTube channel because that's what my YouTube channel is about. But like,
hmm
I'm talking about being honest for me and making sure I don't make that same mistake over and over and over again, which I used to do it all the time. But they were
Right.
definitely relapses. They were not like picking up for one day and then coming right back. I always stayed gone for like a really long time,
Right. And I don't know if I don't know if I can really speak on it too much because I haven't had any experience with a slip
Me neither.
because I've always had relapses,
Yeah.
but I've never had this much time clean and then used one time and was able to realize that I made a mistake and I want recovery versus addiction.
Right.
So to, you know,
Oh, for
so
sure.
I can't really say, but I have friends that don't do meetings, don't do AA, don't do NA, don't do church, and they worked a different program of recovery. And it was through like one of the programs that I went to, and they don't view any of that. They don't like that's like their past. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And like they'll like drink here and there, or like even if you hear the people at Project Unbroken that have a YouTube channel,
Oh yeah.
one of the guys says that he like may drink wine or may have a beer here or there, and I really think it's on the mindset and where you're at. Um, because even like people in my family that were addicted to cocaine and stuff, like they don't do that anymore. It's like they grew up, but they may drink here or there. So it's like I know for me that like I can't do anything because I go hard. Like I just go balls to the wall all the way. Um, but I do believe like if I were to use, um, it's like it's gonna lead me down straight to hell,
Do
like
you
a
think that
relapse.
we put too much emphasis on like whether or not you've been sober for so many days in a row or years in a row? Do you think that we shouldn't concentrate on, I don't know, because I feel like, there's different groups in that are starting to kind of lean more towards this, like, um, I've been in recovery since, I don't know, I started trying to get sober. And then for me, I say I've been sober since I quit doing, my drug of choice and I haven't picked up my drug of choice in those, that amount of time. I feel like, there's different, I guess because it's different programs. And I'm just talking about this because I see a lot of different situations going on, and what I've noticed is that when it serves the person, that's when they use that situation. Like for me, I can use myself. I am on a medication called Suboxone, and it serves me to say that I'm sober because a lot of other people would say that I'm not clean because I'm on maintenance. So,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? So, like, it might serve somebody else in a positive way to say they've been sober for 10 years when they've had maybe 5 or 6 slips in those 10 years. But
Yeah.
because they started their recovery 10 years ago, you know what I'm saying? I guess it
Yeah.
is really just how we look at it because, you know, I also hear people saying, like, um, I'm not going to say I'm an addict. I'm not an addict. I'm not going to say my name's Nicole and I'm an addict because that drags me down and it makes me feel negative. And so instead of saying I'm an addict, they don't say it. They just say they're a person in long-term recovery.
Right.
I can nitpick
I
all kinds of things.
I I just like I state that I'm clean and sober from the day that I stopped, the last day that I used. But honestly, as long as like the person is heading in the right direction, I mean, I feel like you're on a path of recovery. Like you're on a path of moving forward. You're
Yeah.
you're progressing in your life. So if you're taking Suboxone, you're not technically, I don't know if you want to say clean, but you say you're sober, but you're moving forward
Yeah.
and you're still recovering. You're figuring out how to live a normal life. You know what I mean? So honestly, people could just say whatever they want. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
as long as you're moving forward and you're not moving backwards, like, and you're progressing in life and you're healing yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and you're just like trying to be positive,
Yeah.
then just say whatever you want to say.
I totally agree. I totally like I kind of have to bring up a little bit of like differing opinions because like I
It's
agree
I
with some
understand. It's
things and some things I think, I don't know about that, you know what I mean?
Right. And it's so different for everyone. That's the hardest part is everyone is different. You know what I mean? Like some people do the NA thing, and some people do the AA thing, and then some people do the celebrate recovery, and then some people don't do anything, or some people may do smart recovery, or some people do AA, but it's all some type of recovering to better yourself. So it's like eh, I just got one or two friends that have been sober for like 5 or 6 years that don't do anything,
Yeah.
and it's just like I don't know, you know, I don't know anymore.
Well, I think that
The
you did a
more I
good
know, the
job.
more I don't know.
I think you did a good job on answering that question. I'm just controversial, you know.
Mm,
But anyway, I just want everybody to be happy, be sober. It doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't matter. Like I did a video with Derek earlier. We were recording a video, and he said something that I thought of that really made me think. You know, a lot of times when we get years of sobriety, we forget what it was like to be struggling. You know, we forget
mm-hmm.
how hard it is to get sober. And so when we get, 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, we'll almost use our sobriety as like a badge of honor, but think
Right,
about the people who are still, so that's what and I just bring up these things because these are things I think in my mind. Like, but I know how difficult it is to get sober. So anybody that's trying to get sober, like my hat is off to them. I want to keep on pushing forward. I just know for me, like I'll find any reason to go and make something what it's not and maybe use something as an excuse. You know what I mean? And because I've done that in my past.
right.
And that's
Manipulating the situation.
yeah. And that's just me seeing those things, those faults in myself. Like those are character defects that I see in myself, and that, you know, every time I see something that somebody else does, usually it's because it's something that I do too.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? And I'm like,
I
damn
know.
it!
I know.
Damn it, that's me. You know what I mean?
You
And
know, it, when you were saying you were talking with Derek and people use it as a badge of honor, like how much time they have, and we kind of forget. Some people, or I sometimes forget how hard it really was to get sober. You know, we have that built-in forgetter. I've heard people say that in the meetings. I wish I still had like those videos that I had of me detoxing.
mhm,
Like I'm talking like 3 or 4 years ago. Um, because sometimes I do forget how hard it is. But that's what really helps me with that is going back to like detox and going to places to share my testimony and talk to people, and then them asking me to sponsor them.
yeah.
Like, who would ever want me as their sponsor? You know what I mean? Like, that's just my thought in my head. But when people are looking at you or looking at me from day one, day two, we're like giving them hope, you know, and that's the best part. Like, I think that's one of the coolest things.
I
Um,
wish that I could have videos. I wish I had like footage where I could see. The only thing I have to look back on is like my old Instagram. And when I look back on it, I'm just like, can't even believe that that was me. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Because I look deadly. Like I look like I was dead, like a skeleton.
Yeah,
Oh, so scary.
I
But
know. My mom just posted this picture of me from 4 years ago, and she posts everything on Facebook. I'm like, Mom, get that off Facebook. Like, I don't want that. I look
I love
horrible
your
in that.
mom. She sounds awesome.
She's, oh, she's crazy. I love her, but man, she's seen some dark times. I should, I need to have her. She's like, when can I come on the channel? I'm like, Mom, you're not coming on the channel for a while.
You need
Not
to
for
let
a
her
while.
have. I brought my mom on my channel, and your mom and my mom, that would be so amazing if we could get them on a video together where they could talk, and it would be like moms exchanging stories of their addicted sons and daughters,
My
and they could.
mom would love to do that.
Oh, I know that my mom would too. You
I
have
wonder.
wait until you start doing live streams, and your mom comes into the chat.
Oh,
My
yep.
mom comes into the chat. Hey y'all.
I think she talked to us the last time we did one of these lives.
And
Oh
I'm
my
just
God.
like, that's my mama, but that's because they're proud of us. They're
Right,
proud.
right.
Doesn't
Yeah.
it feel good to have your mom proud of you?
It really is. And I should have her on the channel. I just I just haven't done it yet.
I'm
I
going to
need
get
to
all
do it.
teary eyed. I'm just so happy that my mom can see me sober,
Hmm.
that
Don't
she can
start
see.
crying on me right now. Don't
That
start
she can
crying.
see me taking care of my son. And I know your mom feels the same way. If she's posting pictures of you from when
Hmm.
you were in your active addiction to now, like she's just so grateful that her baby is sober. I know because I just think about if when Nathaniel gets older and how much I love him.
Hmm.
So we are alive and we're sober and our families are proud of us and anybody can get to where we're at. That's the most amazing thing about this is that anyone can get sober. If you want to do this, you can do this. So many people are going to your channel and subscribing. They're all talking about it.
Are they really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, well, I guess I'll let you go. I'm not going to hold you hostage all night. I love you, man. Thanks for coming on and chatting with me.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on. I'm gonna go eat some cookies and cream ice cream. I
Oh,
love you all. Thank
okay.
you're great. And anyone out there that's struggling, reach out to Nicole, reach out to anyone, try to get help. Don't forget where you came from. And I always say, try to stay grateful and humble for what you have. It could be a lot worse. And I love you guys. And thanks for having me on, Nicole.
Love you, Nick. See you later.
Peace.
Bye, babe. I hope you guys enjoyed that little live stream about our past relapses and all the craziness we've been through. I love you guys, and I hope you have a great Sunday night. I am gonna get off here. I'm getting emotional already again. I've been trying not to cry, and go take care of some stuff with Nate. It is Daniel. I'm so grateful to have my mom in my life. Like, ugh. But what I'm gonna do, you guys, is once I upload this video, um, I will put Nick's information at the bottom of the comment section, so you'll see it. I'll link his channel and everything. His channel is called Hopeless to Hopeful. There you go. Thank you, Jason. And I saw you guys commenting. I wasn't reading any of you guys. I hope you didn't think that. I was just trying to ask some hard-hitting questions. You know what I mean? Because we were talking about relapse tonight, and I have all the relapses I've had, you guys. They've always been relapses. I've never been I've never been self-aware enough to catch myself and say, I don't want to do that. And that I have to tell y'all, if you are sober and you slip for one day and then you get back on track, my hat is off to you because I don't know how you can do it. That's the problem I always had was I would pick up and then I would be out for the count. And like I said, there was every time I relapsed, there was years in between me trying to get sober again. Um, and so, anybody out there that if you have slipped and you have gotten right back up on track, I'm telling you right now, you need to be thanking your higher power. You need to be thanking your support system. You need to be just really getting in touch and tap into that because that is a gift. That is a gift that's been given to you because I didn't have that. And I truly believe that if I was to pick up today, I would not come back alive. And that's why I'm so afraid to do those things. That's why I'm so grateful that my son, that's why I'm so grateful that my husband found those Xanaxes in my purse 2 years ago. Because if I had used those, I would like to think that I would have came back, but what my past behaviors show me, and that's the only thing I can go off of is my past, right? My past behaviors show me that when I pick up, I'm gone to the races. And so I just don't want to chance that. Am I immune to relapse? Hell no. And nobody's immune to relapse. Anybody can have, that's what happens is you could be doing really good, and then a compromising situation arises, and if you're not connected to your support and spiritually fit and on your A game, that can be a moment where you slip. So like I said, if you're a person who has had a slip recently and you've gotten back on track, like I said, you are kicking ass and taking names. I'm in no way trying to like make anyone feel inadequate or bring that up for any other reason than, like, you need to realize that you've got, this is a gift that's being given to you, and that these second chances, they don't always come, and that there's a lot of people who don't have second chances that die when they slip, that die and don't ever come back. So I love you guys. I hope you have a great night. And I really enjoy having guests on here. As you guys can see, tomorrow night we're going to have Daniel on. Me and Daniel will be on at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So keep a lookout for that. And I'll catch you guys later, okay? All right. Bye, y'all.